We have earlier explored many examples of infusion ideas that can be implemented in the class. In this lesson, let's take a closer look at what goes into designing innovative infusion lessons. The process of designing an infusion lesson can be broken down into 4 steps: conceptualization, planning, execution, and evaluation. Conceptualization is the critical first step. Once we identify a lesson, we can select a concept from it, link the concept to an environmental theme, and then base an infusion lesson or activity on it. Our earlier lessons have included many examples of how this is done. Step 2 is planning, in which we develop a strategy for how the infusion lesson will go and think out the sequence of events in detail. Make sure to spend some time thinking of and preparing for typical questions that students may raise during the infusion lesson. Also plan ahead for outdoor activities and any possible requirements for those, such as a first aid kit. The next step involves conducting the infusion lesson. It is a good practice to share the objectives of the lesson and the lesson outline with the students, as it gives them a roadmap to follow and keeps them engaged. Allowing for free discovery during outdoor activities encourages the development of nature connectedness and observation skills. For evaluation, we gauge the students' response to the infusion lesson and assess whether they can apply the learning. While marks or grades can be awarded for the assessment, let's not forget that the aim of infusion activities is building environmental awareness and stewardship. So, shouldn't we leave the room for evaluating students on qualitative outcomes? When designing an infusion lesson, consider evaluating the impact of the lesson by assessing whether the students are more aware of the environmental theme, have undergone a shift in attitude, have adopted environmentally conscious habits, or have taken any pro-environment action. A master resource we can create by following these 4 steps of designing an infusion lesson is the lesson plan. The lesson plan serves as the instructor's roadmap. It describes what the students need to learn and lays out how this is to be communicated effectively in the time provided. A successful lesson plan for an infusion lesson addresses and integrates 3 key components: objectives for student learning, including the environmental focus of the lesson, teaching and learning activities that build an understanding of the concept and encourage its application towards the environmental focus, and strategies to assess students' learning. Let's now look at a lesson plan's typical template. The lesson plan may begin by stating the concept from the curricular lesson and environmental theme linked to the concept. This sets the background of the lesson. Next comes the learner objective, where we list what the students will learn or do in the infusion lesson. The learner outcomes spell out what the measurable outcomes of infusion will be. Both the learner objectives and the learner outcomes set the agenda of the lesson. Listing the materials needed serves as a quick reference that comes in handy when preparing for the class. The next section, the lesson outline, is the most critical section in the lesson plan. Here, we describe in detail the actual procedure we will follow for various activities, presentations, and discussions that are included in the lesson. This section could include bulleted prompts for the teacher or a detailed script. Under learner assessment, we describe the strategies and rubrics we will follow while assessing the students' understanding of the lesson. We could also mention the qualitative indicators we might use to assess the impact of the infusion lesson on the students. For the section on lesson closure, we plan how to summarize learnings for the students. We can also indicate whether we leave the students with any extension activities or reflection questions to ponder over. For example, you can ask the students to observe their surroundings in and around school or home and identify one object related to the nature or a problem related to environment that they would like to investigate. For an infusion lesson to be effective, it needs to keep students engaged. Outdoor activities including nature play are known to have many benefits for young learners and older students. Other important aspects are activities that engage the senses, require active observation and free discovery of surroundings, or hone important skills such as note-taking and sketching. We have walked through the steps of designing an infusion lesson and its lesson plan. Now it's your turn. Read the lesson plan we have provided and design your own infusion lesson using the template document. Next, share your rationale and plan for a unique infusion idea in the form of a YouTube video or voice note. We can't wait to see what you come up with.